In this video, which is number 3 in a 7-part series in which I'm dispelling misconceptions that even the smartest, most educated people have about domestic violence cases, I'm going to be going through one of the most common misconceptions. My name is Veronica. I'm a domestic violence defense attorney here in California, and I help people put their cases behind them so that they can enjoy their lives and their freedom. I'm also the creator of a course called Defeat the DVRO, in which I teach you from A to Z everything you need to know to represent yourself at a restraining order hearing and win. A lot of times when people are accused of domestic violence, they also get hit with a totally separate case, which is a restraining order. So if that is something that you need help with, you can get your free first class in the course via the link down below. Okay, so let's jump right in. The third misconception in the series. This is that the victim can drop the charges, or even if you know that the case is somehow less serious because the victim does not want the case to be prosecuted. Now, if you are in this situation where the alleged victim in the case does not want charges to continue, you are not in a unique position at all. In fact, a lot of times I actually have the alleged victim calling my office trying to hire a criminal defense attorney to defend their loved one. Many times the alleged victim is the person who bails out the person who was arrested. So the situation is not unique. And if you're watching these videos, you may know already that sure, the alleged victim cannot just drop the charges. And when they had to pay probably $5,000 in your $50,000 bail, they felt that too, because of course they would love nothing more at that point than to just drop the charges, let you get out of jail, keep their money or your money or both of your money, not have to pay that, right? In reality, once an arrest has been made, the prosecution now gets a copy of the police report, your criminal history or lack thereof, and anything else that is in the file there, and they have to make a decision as to whether or not to prosecute. Now, especially if this is your first time arrested and there are no really bad injuries alleged, you have a decent chance of them deciding either not to prosecute at all or prosecute it as a misdemeanor if you were arrested for a felony. But that is only if you have an attorney contact the DA before court and explain your side of the story. Remember, I told you that they are going to look at the police report, your criminal history or lack thereof, and anything else that is in the file. Now, we know already that the police report is not going to be good for you, right? Whenever you get arrested, whatever is in the police report for sure is not going to be good for you. Now, if you don't have criminal history, well, that's something that you have going for you. But you have a prosecutor who is looking at a big stack of police reports and deciding which pile to put them on. There are prosecutors who that is their job, not to actually prosecute the cases, but to look at these files, sometimes spending no more than 30 seconds on the file and decide what to do with this case. And you want to maximize your chances that you get the case dropped, right? Of course, if you can get it dropped before court, that is better than winning at trial because you save a lot of money, you don't have to hire an attorney for trial, you save a lot of stress, and you avoid the risk because if you go to trial, the judge is going to sentence you to whatever they feel is right, and that may be jail, that may be prison. So you want to make sure that in that file is information that you have that can make them less likely to file. For example, that you have an attorney. That shows them that you are not one of these public defender clients who is just going to take the very first deal in the case. All the good things about you. When you're thinking, but I'm a good person, I volunteer, I'm a little league coach, I cut old ladies' lawns on the weekend, whatever it is. You want them to know those good things about you and your education, your job history, everything about you that shows that you are a good, productive member of society. You're not a criminal. You are somebody who deserves a second chance and who they should just give a second chance to. And then what about character letters? So people who support you, who also know that you are a good person and they think, wow, you got arrested? You're not a criminal. You want all of that in the file. But what sometimes people will do, and what people have told me after consulting with my firm they intend to do, is just wait and see what happens at that first court date because the victim is on their side. The victim doesn't want to prosecute the case, even though it's not in their hands. And so they don't really take the case that seriously. I mean, it's hard for them to take it seriously because they have the alleged victim maybe living with them at home, taking care of their kids together. Everything is good between them now. That person bailed them out of jail, and so they think, well, maybe I don't need to hire an attorney. I'll just wait and see what happens. Maybe they'll decide to drop it on their own, just looking at the police report and looking at my lack of criminal history, especially because she doesn't even want to prosecute. That is a big mistake, because some of those people will call me back after they went to court the first time and charges were in fact filed against them. And I know, looking at all the other cases, all the experience that I have, that almost certainly we could have gotten their case dropped before court, but they waited. And now we are dealing with not a prosecutor who's looking at these files and deciding, should we drop this one? Should we lower this one? No, now there's a prosecutor assigned to prosecute you. And you want to avoid that whenever possible. Now, it doesn't mean that you automatically lose at that point, but it means that now you have to fight the case. It means that while you may have gotten a call from an attorney before court telling you charges had been dropped and you didn't have to go, instead you're going to court the first day alone. You are being assigned a public defender. You are waiting there probably all morning. You don't know what's going on. You don't get a copy of the police report. And then you're probably calling private criminal defense attorneys after to say, what now? Okay, so to give a choose your own adventure style example here. Leo was arrested for domestic violence. He and his wife Emma have been together for 10 years. This is his first time ever being arrested. He calls a bunch of criminal defense attorneys, and some of them say to him, you know what, there's probably a 50-50 shot of this thing just being dropped. You probably can just wait until court. Some of the other criminal defense attorneys tell him, yeah, we have to contact the prosecution before court. Maybe you do have a 50-50 shot like the other criminal defense attorneys said, but don't you want to increase your odds? But he hears how much it costs to hire a criminal defense attorney, and yeah, it's not cheap. And he knows he already spent $5,000 on bail, and so he has a choice to make. Choice number one. Leo thinks about it, he looks at his bank account, he looks at his savings, and he feels like, I really don't want to be a drain on my family. Yeah, I have a good job, but maybe I'll just take my chances and just see what happens. He goes to court the first day, and the charges have been filed as a felony. Now the public defender is telling him, hey, best case, we can get this maybe reduced to a misdemeanor. But the problem there is that if he gets a conviction, that may negatively affect his job. So while he tried to save his family money, essentially he gambled, he lost, and now he and his family may end up in a much worse position. Choose your own adventure. Choice number two. He decides, you know what, I have to protect my family's future. I am the main breadwinner here. I can't let this affect my job. And so I'm just going to bite the bullet. I'm going to hire an attorney that I trust. I'm going to follow their advice. Maybe it's go to domestic violence classes. See misconception number one. Maybe it is get a bunch of character letters together and start that right away. Give them all the good information about me so that they can present me in the most positive light possible. Get a letter from my wife, because those letters, well, it doesn't mean that the prosecution is going to dismiss. When we have a letter from the alleged victim, it can make our argument to them as to why they should just let this one go, give you a second chance, much stronger. So Leo hires a good criminal defense attorney. He gets weekly updates from their office, which he didn't even realize how much peace of mind that would get, that they're calling, they're making sure that charges have not been filed. The attorney's talking to the prosecutors, explaining the good things about him, and ultimately he gets a call a few days before court telling him that the whole thing has been dropped. Now, obviously, I am a criminal defense attorney. I take these cases. In fact, most of my cases are domestic violence. And sure, of course, I want more clients. But what really kills me is when I get those calls from someone who I know I got worse cases and theirs dropped from the same courthouse with the same DA's office when the client just hired me before court. It kills me to get those, because if only they had, trusted me to begin with, then the whole thing could have been dropped. And I'm telling you that if this were my little brother, if it were me, if I was charged with domestic violence, I absolutely, even with the victim on my side, would be doing everything that I could to get it dropped before court, because I don't want to go to court as a criminal defendant. That's scary. Really, it is. No matter how good your attorney is, no matter how much you understand what's going on, it is scary. And so if you can avoid being kept up at night wondering what's going to happen with this issue and worrying about it, then absolutely it is worth it. It's worth it, just like bonding out of jail so you don't have to sit in a jail cell is worth it. I hope you found this video helpful. If you do have a criminal case in California, feel free to give me a call. You can find my number down below. You can also book a consultation there. And if you did find it helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell, and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.